Now that we've gone over the fundamentals of objects, it's time to see how we can actually define an object. And we do that by defining an object class. So what we're going to be working here are classes, and we're going to be seeing in this movie how to define a class. To start with, I'm just going to open up TextMate to a new file, and I'll just do a save on that file into my sandbox, and I'm just going to call it class example.php. And I'm not going to have any HTML in it. I'm just going to start out with some PHP. Now, every class definition begins with the keyword class, and then right after that is the class name. So it could be, for example, student. Now, it's worth noting that it's in camel case, which means uppercase for the first letter, and then any other words would also be capitalized. So, for example, portfolios, let's say, would be a student portfolio. You see the camel case there. That's because of the hump that's created by the capital P that's there. So I'm going to create my first class. I'm just going to call it person. And then we're going to have a pair of curly braces. And everything that's inside those curly braces is going to be the definition of the class. Principally, that's going to be its variables and its methods. Now, sometimes you'll see this written like this. That's fine. It has the exact same effect. White space doesn't really make a difference in PHP. I'm going to tend to write them like that. So whichever way you prefer to have your curly braces. That's all there is to defining a class. Now, it's not a very exciting class. There's nothing in it, but that is now a class. Whenever we create a class, PHP keeps track of the fact that it's been created. It's similar to how require once keeps track of all the files that have already been required. Remember, there's an array that we can look at to see that. We can have classes equals get declared classes. And that's a special function that will grab all the classes that have been declared and put them in our variable. And then we can do for each classes as class. And we'll just do a simple for each loop through them to see them. Echo class, and then we'll just put a little BR tag at the end. There we go. So now if we just try running this simple script, it'll define the class. There's nothing in it, but it'll still define it anyway. It'll then add it to the declared classes, and we can pull that value back and output each of our classes. Let's just try that. So I'll go into Firefox, and we're going to be in our sandbox again, but this time class example.php. So there's a list of all the declared classes. Now you see there's a whole lot of them, right? A lot of these are already declared by PHP for us. But if we do a search here, actually down at the very bottom is person. That's the one that we did. So PHP defined all these other classes for us, and then person is the one that we defined. Now there's another way that we can do this besides listing them all out. Let's take all of this code real quick, and we'll just comment it out. Right? And let's ask if class exists, and then in quotes we'll put person, and then if it exists, then echo that class has been defined, and we'll put a BR tag after it. And if not, we'll say else echo class not defined, and we'll put our BR tag again. So that's just going to do a quick check to see, has the class been defined or not? Does the class exist? So we'll save it, and let's just try reloading that page, and we'll see how that works. Oops, excuse me, there we go. So that class has been defined. And if we change it to something like animal, and then we go back to Firefox, and we reload the page, we'll see class not defined. So that's one good way to find out if a class exists or not. So even though we've done a very unexciting class at this point, we already see that it's been created, and we can find out a little bit of basic information about it. In the next movie, let's take a look at how we can add some functionality to our class.